Hello and welcome to your Mining Disrupt News Surge for Monday, March 11th, 2024. Last week I said it was February and we are definitely in March. So shout out to the commenter that pointed that out to me. As always, everything you see here is for entertainment and education purposes only. Everything that you're going to do with your money you should figure out on your own. Don't take things that I say here as financial advice. With that said, you can certainly go down to the Bitcoin Mining Expo happening in Miami, Florida, June 24th through the 26th. You can scan the QR code right down there. Get your tickets to that and learn all sorts about the mining side of things, the real ground floor of what makes Bitcoin tick tock. Next block. Today, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I don't know exactly how long I'm going to go, but usually I edit these videos down to about 10 minutes long. And today, if it goes a little bit longer because of the points that I want to make and I'm a little bit more rambly, I'm going to just see how it goes, see how the views do, see how the people like it, see what the comments say. I'm going to talk about something that I think has the potential to really pump major numbers into Bitcoin. There is something happening right now in a prominent sector that nobody is linking to Bitcoin. I mean, really, I have not seen a single person mention this, and I think once you see it, it's hard to unsee it. So I'm going to get into that here momentarily, but first, the numbers. As ever, we are over on my favorite place to look at the Bitcoin numbers, timechaincalendar.com. We can see in the, well, I guess for you it might be the middle, but the top right-hand side of the big circle here, the exchange rate is $69,379, and I'm recording this in the morning of Sunday, March 10th. So who knows what that'll go up to when the markets open on Monday. But it's been bouncing around that 69,000-ish range for the last day-ish, which means for your single US dollar, you will get yourself 1,442 sats. We have less than 6,000 blocks to go to the Bitcoin halving, and blocks are coming in pretty quick right now. The hash rate is very high, which means that the blocks are coming in at 9 minutes and 30 seconds. We're going to see an upward tick of 5.31% in 556 blocks. You can see when that's going to happen. The blocks here, the tick counting down here, tick tock, on the inner red circle. Now, before I get into this story, I'm going to cover a couple tweets, but I'm going to jump back to Time Chain Calendar right now, real quick. I want you to pay attention to something right here, 69,374. And I want you to guess which way it's going to go. Is that number going to go up? Is it going to go down? And I don't mean over the course of days or weeks. I mean just every single time before it goes up. Is this going to go up? It's 375. Okay, went down to 374. Is it going to go up or is it going to go down? Let's say, I think it's going to go down. Okay, went up. I was wrong. All right. Okay, went up again and again. All right. So, all right. I thought it was going to go down. Now it'll go down, maybe? Will it go down now? Oh, it did go down. Okay, I got it right one time. All right, so that's one time right. I think it'll go back up now. It did. Okay, I got that right. I'm two for two. Well, it went back down. The reason I like doing that is because it illustrates in real time that you can't trade. You cannot trade this in the short term. In the long term, I guess, I don't know if that's called trading. When I think of trading, I'm thinking of short term, day trading type stuff. I don't know that it's really trading if you hang on to it for a year or more. But this little game I just played really emphasizes why you don't trade Bitcoin. You buy it, you hang on to it, and if you need to sell some to pay some bills or handle some expenses or do something down the road, months, more like years down the road, then, okay, hey, Saylor has gone on record multiple times talking about this, how he wrote a book and how over the last 30 years, there's basically one day where all of the volume in the S&P 500 happens, more or less, and trying to pick which day of the year that is it's impossible. Like you can't do it. The people that manage to do it are just lucky, or you're trading in such high volumes that it doesn't really matter and it all kind of washes out. So that was just a little fun little side tangent there. I'm going to jump over to a couple of tweets here. And this first one really illustrates how massive these ETFs have been. Truly staggering numbers. This one is from Nate Garachi, and he says, wild stat. Total flows into 9 new spot Bitcoin ETFs over past 2 months exceeds total flows into physical gold ETFs over the past 5 years. Physical gold ETFs equal nearly 100 billion assets under management. Next up, we've got a tweet from Wicked. He's the Apple head guy on Twitter. And this is something that I don't think a lot of people realize right now. Where the money is coming from. And Wicked right here says, my cousin just told me he's getting ready to move his entire portfolio into FBTC, but that he's going to wait until Bitcoin reaches 100K first before he pulls the trigger. 100K is when retail shows up. Now, the immediate question I have when I read that is, well, hang on a second. We know that these ETFs are blowing everything else out of the water. We can see it in the Bitcoin price. Money is flying into this. There's more and more data coming out every single day that this is happening. But you're telling me it's not retail? Then where is the money coming from? I encourage you to check out this episode of What Bitcoin Did. It's called The Wall Street Bull Market with Checkmate. And like I said, they go over a bunch of charts here and data, and it's just facts. It's here's where coins are, here's where they're going, here's how it's happening. So let's play this clip here now.
Is new retail here yet?
No. By my read, and we've got a couple of charts later on, October last year was a pivot point. Everything up to October was hodlers only. It was only the people who survived the bear. From October onwards, there's been new money, measurably new money, and ETFs has obviously just supercharged that, but it's big money. It's not retail. It's big money, and the hodlers just do what they do. They just DCA away.
Okay. Retail has not shown up to Bitcoin yet. What is retail? We need to define that. What I hear when I hear retail is anybody and everybody. It is the masses, the plebs, the people of the world at large, all the way down from the guy that flips burgers and he decides to buy $5 worth of Bitcoin up to maybe your plumbers, your electricians, the people that are doing certainly better economically speaking than the burger flipper, but aren't massive fund managers. They're not the owner of a car dealership that's doing really well in a central location surrounded by multiple large cities, that kind of thing. But that demographic represents a massive number of people, and a massive number of people represents a good chunk of money. Maybe not most of the money, but it's a substantial chunk of money. They have not shown up to Bitcoin yet. There's a mental barrier, I think, right now, and I've seen people say that that barrier will be broken once we reach 75K. I've seen it said that, and Peter even talks about it, that it'll happen when we break 100K. I am more of the school of thought that that's when retail will show up, is when we break 100K. What's important to note here is where the money is coming from. Who is the big money? Who is that? Is it Michael Saylor's? Well, not really. There's only so many of those in the world. So where is the money coming from? I personally know, I don't know if I'd call them high net worth individuals. They're certainly higher net worth than myself. But I don't know at what price, at what dollar amount you are considered a high net worth individual. Let's say it's at minimum 7 figures. So you have a net worth of definitely over $1 million. I don't know if you have to reach 8 figures, so tens of millions of dollars to be considered high net worth. But I personally know people that are somewhere in that range. I'm not privy to their exact financial settings, but I know, given the way that they live and the way that they talk and my personal relationship to them, that they're worth quite a bit more than me. And I know that they have taken an interest to some degree in Bitcoin. I don't know how much they've gotten, but they've told me like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm getting some of that, because I'm pretty vocal about Bitcoin, as you can imagine. And so we chat here and there, but like I said, not in great detail. If my little few people that I know of represents a larger trend, then it makes sense to me. It's people that have some money that they can move around, that 1%, 5%, maybe, I don't think so, but maybe as much as 10% isn't that big of a deal to them. The masses have not shown up. The real big money. I mean like the big money. I don't mean individuals. I mean Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy, Apple, Google, Alphabet, Qatar, nation states. They clearly have not gone in because once they do, and it's just a matter of time as far as I'm concerned, then the price rips. I like nothing you've ever seen. Forget God candles, forget Omega candles. There's going to be some new term for it going 10,000 chunks. Like you saw that how it was bouncing around on time chain calendar by dollars. Oh, it's 16 or 69.469 is 69.4 whatever. I think we'll see jumps at some point in our lifetimes. I do believe that we will see jumps that represent the total dollar amount right now. So it'll be in the millions of dollars and jumping around by tens of thousands of dollars, and it'll feel the same as a few $10 here and there right now. That's how much I think this is going to grow. Okay, I've rambled a fair bit now, and it's gone already longer than I expected, and we haven't even gotten to the real meat of things. So let's do that now. But to set the stage, I'm going to play this clip from Mr. Fink. And as a quick note, I'm going to be playing this at 1.5 speed because Larry Fink isn't the fastest of talkers. So if you're listening to this at 2x speed, this might sound super fast. So just a quick heads up before I hit play on this. Here we go.
That there's a lot of merit to it. There's a lot of opportunity. It is a great store, and this is where you can debate. Is it a good store?
Do you know how it's made? A bunch of computers figure out.
But the issue is if people believe that it can be an asset that can be cross-border. Right. And let's be clear, if you're in a country where you're fearful of your government, and maybe this is one of the reasons why China has banned it. Mm-hmm. If you're in a government where if you're in a country where you're fearful of your future, fearful of your government, or you're frightened that your government is devaluing its currency by too much deficits.
Like us.
I'm not going to go there.
The little elephant in the room.
You could say this is a great potential long-term store of value. And as I said, it's like digital gold. And I believe...
But you still can't buy a slice of pizza with it.
No.
Isn't it kind of odd that we're...
But you can't buy a price of pizza with palladium or gold.
No,
yeah,
but
exactly.
there you can do stuff with them. I can get...
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Yeah, people can do stuff with gold. You can put it in jewelry, and people can do stuff with silver. But most people aren't doing things with gold. Can you do something with gold? Do you have a real use case for gold? Are you? I don't. If somebody hadn't handed me a bar of gold, I wouldn't be going, oh, good. Now I can finish those conductors or the gold-plated wires that I was making. I needed this for industrial purpose. No. I just go, oh, thank you. I guess I'll use this as a paperweight or something. I don't know. Honestly, I'd probably just sell it and then put it straight into Bitcoin. The reason I played this clip is not to rub some more shine on Mr. Fink's half-bald head again. It's because there is something happening in a massive industry that is getting a fair bit of talk, but it's getting talk in a certain light. And it's not getting a whole lot of talk in a different light. Now, I've been coy enough up until this point, so I'm just going to tell you what I'm talking about here. There is this, I don't know what to call it, a company, a consulting firm called Sweet Baby Inc. Now, what Sweet Baby Inc. does is they go to a game company, it once requested, from what I understand. It's not like they just show up and pound on the doors, and there might be some of that and say, hey, let us in and we're going to consult on your game. There might be some degree of that. I don't know. But XYZ game company, like Rocksteady, who recently released the Justice League, or Kill the Justice League game to abysmal reviews and is already on sale for nearly half off on Steam because it's a massive steaming pile of trash. A game that came out recently, Suicide Kill the Justice League, looks unquestionably worse than a game that came out nearly a decade ago, or close to a decade ago, the old Batman Arkham games, and they look phenomenal in comparison, the Batman games, to this stupid Justice League game. But the real problem with a lot of these big budget games coming out these days is the narrative in them, the forced, how do I put this? The agenda. That's what it is. The agenda that is forced into these games from a company like Sweet Baby Inc. Sweet Baby Inc. comes in and goes, the women are too pretty, and that's setting unrealistic beauty standards, so let's tone that down. Let's make them a little bit more homely looking. Oh, you don't have enough minority representation. Your protagonist is a white male, and we already have 1,000+ games with that in there. So let's turn up the amount of screen time that the minority characters get. Oh, you don't have any minority characters? Well, that's a real big problem. You need to add some. So put some of those in there. Oh, and you don't have any alphabet soup characters? Well, you're going to need a few of those in there as well. And they need to be real vocal about how they are gay or bi or this or some other letter in the soup. So these companies, like Sweet Baby Inc., and they're not the only one, but they're the one getting the most attention, show up to a game company and help the game fit a specific agenda. Now, the question is, why? Why is that happening? And this is not something that's talked about a whole lot, but this video I'm going to play here, I'm going to play segments of it from Upper Echelon. I encourage you to watch the whole thing, but the part that I'm going to be playing is going to be pieces from the chapter titled BlackRock. And he talks about, and long and short of it, the TLDR here is that a game company like EA, a publisher, wants investors. But to attract these investors, they have to do certain things. And for a little while now, I don't know when it started, but I'm going to say about 5-ish years ago, ESG was all the rage. So if you are a game company and you want to attract investors, and the way that you attract investors is by doing ESG practices, then you will go to a consulting firm and go, hey, how can we be more ESG? How can we have more diversity? How can we do these things to attract the big money? Think of it this way. If the people of the world generally have favorable opinions about animals, for whatever reason, people are going, boy, animals are great. I love animals, dogs and cats. They're all the rage. And you see more dogs and cats in movies. And there's more animated movies with dogs and cats. And dogs and cats, dogs and cats. What's going on here? Well, for whatever reason, people want dogs and cats and things. Well, if a company comes along and their whole thing is dogs and cats, that's going to attract investors. Oh, you're a dogs and cats company? Well, let's give you money because the global consensus, the zeitgeist of the moment is dogs and cats. You're a company that's all about dogs and cats. You, de facto, are going to make money. So we as big investors will invest in your company so you can keep on doing more dogs and cats thing. The global world goes, oh, we want to support dogs and cats things. The dogs and cats company makes money and the investor makes money as well. And the investor can just invest in a bunch of other companies that are doing the dogs and cats thing. Do you get it? I think it's about as simple as I can spell it out here for you. So let me play some sections of this clip here, and you'll start to see exactly what I'm talking about. And again, I'm going to be playing this a little bit faster so that we can both get through it. And, I'm going to be playing it at 1.3 speed, and here we go.
This is BlackRock. BlackRock is a multinational investment firm. You've probably heard of it many times before, and it's the world's largest individual corporate asset manager. On a similar level is Vanguard, another multinational investment company managing over $7.7 trillion in this case. And these two firms, among many others out there, have something in common. They both prioritize ESG investments.
Now, we got to pause there. They prioritize ESG investments, okay? This is really important. Right here from PwC's got this thing. ESG-focused institutional investment seen soaring 84% to U.S. $33.9 trillion in 2026. Now, I don't think that's going to stay on track because of what I'm going to talk about here, but that is, as of this release, that is what they were saying. 33 trillion, making up 21.5% of assets under management. That is massive, absolutely monumental, huge sums of money. Why is this happening? Why? Well, think back to a few years ago. Think about the protests and the riots and all the demonstrations, whatever you want to coin it, happening around the world and largely in the U.S. because of things happening, police brutality and defund the police and all this. And before that, it was the Million Women March with all the knit cat hats with the pink ears and all this stuff going on. And Me Too. Now, all of these things. So as a global phenomenon, or Western world largely happening, there was a shift in tone. People going, oh, hey, we need to change some things. Now, some people went real hard, like, oh, well, this means that we got to hire 50% all this and 50% that. I was like, that's not exactly what it means, but okay, I guess you can do it that way. That's what a lot of companies did and have done. But it's undeniable that things were happening. There was an awareness around the world. And this happens in a lot of things. You may have noticed this with yourself. I don't like drinking out of plastic, so I try to avoid having plastic containers. I prefer, like, this is a porcelain mug. Most mugs are porcelain or ceramic or something. But I don't like drinking out of reusable or non-reusable coffee cups, the paper ones that are lined with the plastic. But is there a real reason for that? Oh, microplastics that. Maybe. I don't know. How much of it is true? How much of it is real? How much of it is something that I really need to be concerned about? BPA and plastic, non-BPA, Oh, green this, environmental. I don't know. But I can't deny, in other words, I have to accept that there is some impact on me. There is. There is. Like, you're not immune to marketing. I'm not immune to marketing, or else it wouldn't be done. I try to be aware of it. I try to pay attention to what I'm doing and ask, why am I doing these things? But I'm not doing that about every single thing. I'm not. No one is. You can't. Like, you'd be debilitated. As the global consciousness shifts and people are going, oh, ESG, in a subconscious kind of way, honestly, probably most of the time, it means that certain companies that are doing certain things, maybe they change their packaging. Oh, we're green friendly. Oh, hey, I want to support that. I care about the planet. I care about the Amazon. I care about the plants and the animals and the waterways. And yeah, I want to help that. Those companies that are doing certain things, that are marketing in certain ways, are going to make more money. Well, if those companies are making more money, then the investors are going to be attracted to those companies because they, in turn, want to make money. Let's continue with the video.
Simply put, ESG investing is a viral phenomenon where the social, environmental, and political conscience of an asset or company, rather, is allegedly at the core of whether or not major investment firms will include it in their portfolios. So much so that prominent businesses now publish what are called ESG reports.
Exactly what I'm saying there. Hey, to attract the investors, we got to publish these things to show, look, hey, we're playing the game. And he goes over some of that right here. This is some really good, this is actual journalism. Ladies and gentlemen, this is real journalism. When you go and you look and you dig into things, this is journalism. That's what Upper Echelon here is doing, is journalism. Posting some fucking opinions is not journalism. Just because you type things on a screen and it gets published to a well-known blog, that's not journalism. This is journalism.
Here's one from Kraft Heinz, the company behind ketchup, in 2022. It has an entire section called Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging. More specific to gaming, if you want that, here's an ESG report from Activision Blizzard in 2021. The word diversity is mentioned 39 times, and the report very specifically emphasizes more characters in the video games that they produce from LGBTQ backgrounds or non-binary representation. Now, this matters because BlackRock and Vanguard, both of them, under their asset umbrella, if you will, have numerous different funds dedicated to the concept of ESG, which is specifically why these large companies are trying so hard to.
So they have, BlackRock specifically has funds dedicated to ESG stuff. We want to invest in ESG. And I guess you can hold this against BlackRock, but at the same time, I don't. Why don't I? Like, oh, they're the ones funding this, and they're the ones. No, not yes, but no. It goes both ways. It's like a kid that's really terrible to his mother, and the kid's being a real jerk and yelling and screaming, yeah, I want this, and being real snotty. It goes both ways. The kid's being snotty, but the mom is kind of allowing it to happen too. So it's not just one or the other. It's not like, oh, the mom's a really good mom and she always puts her foot down and she's a great mother, and yet she just has this terrible kid. That's not possible. Like that doesn't happen. If you have a really good structured household, then your kid isn't going to end up a real piece of crap. Like it's just maybe there's some outliers, but exception, rule, all that. So as far as BlackRock, they're just chasing the money. If the global consensus is, hey, we want more representation. Hey, look, the Into the Spider-Verse has a black Spider-Man and people like that. And if it's done well, I don't have a problem with it. For example, some of the most powerful women ever represented on screen or in books ever is the Bene Gesserit. and Dune. Those are some they are inarguably the most powerful characters in the entire series, the Bene Gesserit. Like, by far, they control everything. They are seeing things and planning thousands of years into the future because they're capable of accessing memories and consciousness going back generations, thousands of years. But they're written extremely well. They're not just ham-fisted in there and like, oh, look, it's a female doing really man things. No. They're females doing wise women things. Continuing with the story here.
One important side note for later in the video from the Vanguard ESG stock ETF, quote, the index excludes the stocks of companies that FTSE determines engage in, have a specified level of involvement in, and or derive threshold amounts of revenue, that's important, threshold amounts of revenue, from one or more of the following activities, including, further down, own and or operate a gambling establishment, end quote. My point is that these investment funds have rules, kind of ethical rules, really.
So if you want our money, you've got to play by these rules. But the rules can be bent, ladies and gentlemen, as he's about to get into, though they can be bent.
Companies in particular are attempting to conform to said rules. However, let's go one step further and make it completely obvious. Remember that list of companies that hired Sweet Baby Incorporated that they brag about on their official website?
Look at this. You got Xbox Game Studios, Electronics Arts, Valve. Like, it's a massive list here. Ubisoft, 2K, Rocksteady, Wizards of the Coast, Remedy. It's huge. People Can Fly. I've heard of most of these on here, and I can name different games that they've worked on. Square Enix, because they want that money. So it's this real tangled web of, oh, the people want this, but why do they want it? Because of things that are happening in the social consciousness, like things are happening in the news, undeniable things. There's people in streets burning. There's people that are upset about stuff. So we want to make games that acknowledge those people and are aware of these things. And so we want to represent minorities. And, oh, there's other things happening. There's drag queen reading shows. So we got to represent that. We got to point to all these various things. And if we do that, then we can make games that make money because we're selling to the people that care about these things, and then we can get money from the investors.
Those, starting with Electronic Arts. The largest two institutional shareholders of EA, BlackRock and Vanguard. Take-Two Interactive, another name on the list of Sweet Baby clients, largest institutional holders, Vanguard and BlackRock. Warner Brothers, again, Sweet Baby client, largest holders, Vanguard, then BlackRock, and the list goes on. See, the corporate tree of life, as I call it in a demented way, makes it even more obvious because the other names on that list, the list of Sweet Baby clients that is, are almost all related in some capacity as well, even if BlackRock or Vanguard are not directly holding their company's stock. Example, Warner Brothers in 2010, a while ago, acquired a majority stake in Rocksteady Studios, meaning that yet another client on the list is directly connected through its parent organization, and the same is true for practically every single name you see.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave.
Largest institutional holders, surprise, surprise, Vanguard, BlackRock. And this was true for Activision Blizzard as well, even before the buyout.
The investment firms, Vanguard, BlackRock, they champion this idea of ESG, and then they support and fund and back the companies that support their idea. But why did they champion those ideas in the first place? Why are they the ones that came up with it? Or maybe not came up with it, but kind of really pushed it forward? Because that's where they saw money. There's no other reason. That's it. It's just what's making money. I'm going to wrap this up here, and I'm going to point it to you, like how this relates to Bitcoin, because you might be wondering, what in the fuck does this have to do with Bitcoin? But I promise you, this comes back around to Bitcoin in a big way here.
Which heavily incentivizes shoehorn diversity, thereby feeding the cycle and creating an industry norm where publishers play ball, kind of, and make their products look better for the purpose of appeasing this larger agenda, only to have their original audiences wondering what the hell happened when the products become unrecognizable. Make sense? Just one problem. This whole thing is a sham. Remember that requirement, the one we briefly read from the Vanguard ETF about excluding gambling? Yeah, that's a pretty normal provision for most of these funds, but half of the modern video game world is now predicated on blatant underage gambling. Loot boxes, surprise mechanics, whatever you want to call them, it's gambling. But that doesn't really matter because the point isn't to actually have ethical investments. The point is to look like you do through the lens of modern social expectations.
All right, he goes a bit deeper into this, and the whole video is really worth a watch. I highly recommend it. I've got the link in the description if you want to look into this. But the question that you might be wondering here, as I just alluded to a moment ago, is what in the F does this have to do with Bitcoin? Here's what it has to do with Bitcoin. We just saw a video from the WEF come out about Bitcoin. Remember this? I played this a week or two ago about the WEF talking positively about Bitcoin mining. The narrative is shifting, and it is shifting fast. And what this means is that as the global awareness changes around Bitcoin and they realize that having abundance of energy is a good thing, and that Bitcoin not only empowers a people economically, but it empowers them in a very livable way. If you attract Bitcoin miners, you have stability to your grid, you have stability to your economics for all sorts of reasons. It empowers your people to do things that they otherwise weren't able to do because now they have power to do those things. They can spend less time down at the river cleaning their clothes and more time doing interesting things, building things, whatever. This is going to change. The narrative is changing, and it's changing in real time. And BlackRock is going to be and is already changing that narrative. They are behind. They are on the board. Larry Fink's on the board of the WEF. They have so much money. It's hard to even comprehend. But they are going around changing things, helping shape the narrative. And this is what I was talking about. As soon as the video game industry realizes, oh, wait a second, hold on. We can incorporate Bitcoin into our platform maybe easier and in a more effective way than most other things. Think about all the transactions that happen in the video game world. It's 190-ish, 180 odd $billion industry. Half of that comes from mobile gaming. You're talking about 90-ish $billion from mobile gaming. Think about all the it's literally called microtransactions. That's what they call those in those games. What is better suited to microtransactions and instant payment than Bitcoin? And if you've got BlackRock, maybe not Vanguard yet, but it's just a matter of time, BlackRock championing Bitcoin, Larry Fink going on news stations seemingly every week talking about the benefits of it, things are going to change. And as soon as they do, and as soon as the entire video game starts picking up on this, and they realize this is really useful, then you're looking at an industry that is $150+ billion flowing into Bitcoin and backing that and being a core part of Bitcoin. Just for some real rough numbers here, if you put $150 billion into Bitcoin and you do the multiplier thing by 50, it brings the price of Bitcoin per coin up to something like, I did the math last night, something like 430, it's over $400,000 per coin. Now, if you go the other side of things, if you go even higher and you look at, if you look at the video game industry being like a $200 million industry or $200 billion industry, and you do a crazy multiplier of 250, you're looking at a coin price of over $2 million. And that's from one industry. One. Albeit a big one. Video games is a large industry, but that's one industry. If you haven't paid attention to what is happening and you don't see the writing on the wall of where the price can go with this thing, this finite asset thing, then I encourage you to start reading, listening to some podcasts, and just do some work, do some research. Because as BlackRock shifts the narrative, the sentiment that people have about Bitcoin is going to change in a drastic way. And we will look back to days like today and the price being somewhere around $70,000 and go, oh my God. I remember back in the day when I could buy Bitcoin. I could trade fiat for Bitcoin. And now the only way to get it is by working for it. Or selling things like that. You can't buy it anymore. It's completely beyond the reach of purchasing. I think we're going to see that day a lot sooner than we thought. I think it's in the large scheme of things, I think it's right around the corner. I do.